Welcome to Stories for Wonderful Children. I'm Dan Wendelin, your host and a storyteller. For many years, I told my children a new bedtime story every night, and now with their permission, I'm sharing the best of those stories with you in this podcast. If you're a new listener, I'd recommend you go back and start at the very beginning. And please take note that the current stories about Myra and the online school for adventuring are for children who are a little bit older, such as those who might enjoy the Harry Potter or Percy Jackson books. I hope you enjoy these stories.
The secret of defeating the string demon is truly just eating its string.
As they rushed back onto campus after their near escape from the string demon, Myra felt somehow surprised that campus seemed so normal. It seemed like after she and her friends had had a very close brush with almost certain death, that people should have been running around screaming or upset, but no, they walked past other students who just seemed to be going about their normal business, chatting with each other, flirting with each other, studying together. People headed to the cafeteria for a late-night snack. After they had walked back into the inner circle of buildings, Myra looked at the rest of them and said, "Well, now what?" "Now," said Chelsea, "we need to know why the string demon was waiting for us." "Well," said Myra, "I didn't tell it, and we just made this plan before we left, so maybe it was just bad luck." "Maybe," said Tweety, "but I've been into the forest a lot. I've never gotten attacked by the string demon before, and I'm wandering around by myself." "Why do you go into the forest so much?" said Myra. Tweety shrugged. "Because I can. Almost everything in there finds me inedible, so it's really not very dangerous for me." "So what do we do now?" said Myra. "I intend to go to bed," said Chelsea. "Yeah, same," said Willow. "Well, let's meet over breakfast," said Myra. "We need to figure out what we're going to do next." So they all went back to their respective rooms, and Myra surprised herself by actually falling asleep pretty promptly. But when she woke up, she felt like she'd had vivid dreams, but she couldn't remember any of them. But when she woke, she felt like she knew what they had to do next. Over breakfast, Myra told the rest of them over breakfast. "Look," she said, "you know that thing that Hetty found in the book?" "Yeah, some guy has the same name as the administrator who claims he was the last one to see the fates?" "Yeah," said Myra. "Well, why don't we go?" "Go where?" asked Chelsea. "To this temple of the fates that he went to. The last place they were seen before they disappeared. I'm still not convinced that has anything to do with the string demon," said Tweety. "Maybe," said Myra. "It could all be coincidence, that the school was founded the year after the fates disappeared, that no one's seen them since, that the deer say that the string demon's been around about as long as the school. Yeah, it could all be coincidence, but I feel like this is the lead we have to follow, and, the weekend's coming up, so..." She turned to Hetty. "Where is this place?" "Actually," said Hetty, "it doesn't say anything about it in the book." "Well," said Myra, "I guess it's time to head back to the library then, huh?" "I'll go," said Hetty. "I think that you all might still not be entirely welcome in the library." "Gee," said Myra, "you break in once, and people just don't ever let you forget about it." "Anyway," she said, "if you can find a destination at some place that we can get to over the weekend, then I think it's time for a road trip." "Road trip how?" said Corin. "We don't exactly have horses." "Well," said Myra, "I've been taking griffin flying lessons. Anybody else?" They all looked at each other. Willow said, "I can turn into a bird." "Wait, what?" said Myra. "You can turn into a bird? We learned how to pick locks, and you learned how to turn into a bird first year?" Willow shrugged. "Not all first years learn it," she said. "The professors say I have natural aptitude." For being a grower in general, said Myra, or being a bird specifically? I'm pretty sure being a bird specifically, Willow replied. I still can't talk to anything bigger than an ant. Fair enough, said Myra. Okay, so I can ride a griffin, Willow can fly as a bird. Anybody else have a good way to travel? They all sort of looked at each other. No? Okay, well, I guess it's you and I, Willow, said Myra. Hetty, see if you can figure out where we should be headed. We'll reconvene at dinner. And that's what they did. Not much of anything of interest happened during class. Myra kept expecting somebody to ask her about the commotion in the forest the night before, or say that, hey, I noticed a string demon chasing you out of the woods last night, but no, it was a really disturbingly normal day. So, when dinner arrived, and they were gathered again around their table, Myra was bitterly disappointed to see Hetty just shaking her head. No, she said, there's nothing about it in the library. I see the Temple of the Fates mentioned, but it's mostly one of those legendary things. Nobody knew where it actually was. It was sort of one of those places that adventurers went in search of so that they could discover their fate or a prophecy about the future. But if any of them found it, none of them were kind enough to record it in anything that I have access to. Maybe I'll just ought to ask the right person, said Cook's voice. Myra and the rest of them looked up. She had not realized that Cook was so close, or that Cook could move so quietly. But Cook was there with a platter of cinnamon rolls. You all look like you could use a little pick-me-up, she said. I couldn't help overhearing the end of what our fine young zealot here was talking about. She set the cinnamon roll platter down in front of them, still steaming. Now why on earth would you all be looking for the Temple of the Fates? Said Myra. We heard about it, and we thought it would make an interesting road trip. I mean, it's supposed to be defunct now or something, right? Because the Fates have all disappeared? Cook looked at them for a moment. So you're not, like, trying to go and get your future told or anything? No, said Myra, we know there's nothing there anymore. We just thought it would be neat to see it. Uh-huh, said Cook, who looked skeptical. Perhaps only marginally more than her usual look of skepticism, actually. Well, she said, you have a map? Myra took out a map of the school and its environs. Well, said Cook, here's the school, here's the forest. She drew sort of a big half arc around the green that surrounded the school to the north and the east and the south. Now, she said, if you go due west, you'll fly over the forest until you reach the coast. You do have a way to fly, right? Yeah, said Myra. Why? Because, said Cook, it is not safe for you all to go through that patch of forest. Yes, said Myra, we've rather figured that out. No, said Cook, I really don't think you have. You've probably only been in the forest right around the school, and it has its own peculiarities, of course, but there are things farther to the west that you do not want to get into.
Like string demons?
Myra said, yes, I'm going to fly on a griffin, and Willow here is going to fly as a bird. Perfect, said Cook. Well, in that case, fly west, and just when you get to the point where you can see the ocean, but you haven't yet reached the coast, there ought to be, if you look below you, the remains of what used to be the Temple of the Fates. And only go during the daytime, okay? Right, said Myra. Would you like to tell me why? No, I would not, said Cook. Okay, said Myra. Only during day, just before we reach the coast, due west. Right, said Cook. Have you been there? Said Myra. Like, how do you know where it is? That, said Cook, is another thing that I am not going to tell you. Okay, said Myra.
Cook is the best character in this entire story.
Okay, said Myra. She looked over at Willow. So, she said, first thing tomorrow morning, sunrise, I'll go see about borrowing a griffin, signing out a griffin for the day. I'll see you at the stables as the sun comes up, said Willow. And with their plan made, they headed off to make arrangements. And that is the end of the story for tonight. Thanks for listening to Stories for Wonderful Children. I created today's show, but questions and running commentary were supplied by my children. The theme music was created by Brandon Thompson, and our wonderful logo was designed by Silas Swindlin. If you know someone who might enjoy the show, please tell them about it. Do you want more stories? You can now subscribe to the show and help pick a new story for me to tell every month. The show's website is storiesforwonderfulchildren.com. Until next time, I'm Dan Wendelin, reminding you to tell someone you love a story.